Returned once again today to actually deliver a stream of JoJo Part 5 Golden Wind. Good to go, we're good to go, we're good to go. So, yes, we have to actually cover episode 24 of JoJo Part 5 Golden Wind. That's been episode 23. Was really freaking good, actually. I mean, we lost my boy. We lost my boy, even though I did just fight him on Sekiro, so he's still there at least, even though he's trying to kill me. But still, we lost my boy, and also now we're actually heading into kind of like the territory again. It's gonna be an episode to actually remember this episode. It's an episode. This one is. Have to wait and see what doesn't very happen. So, anyways, actually planning to actually gone live. Oop. So, gone live for episode 24 of JoJo Part 5 Golden Wind. Oh man, alright. And that one, and away we go, I think. Away we go, I believe. Are we good to go? That is the real question. On that front, yes, we certainly are. On this front, we certainly are not. Twitch, what are you doing? Now we are. Now we're good to go. So, anyway, it actually puts the full screen actually at Shona Road. So in 3, 2, 1. That's like this thing absolutely now. Hello! I also realised that Mista, whenever he actually has any time to pose, he will pose. The boy is posing all the time. I actually can't wait. Every single time. Is that the fact to drop like the most dank album of like that year? It's like they just pose so brilliantly. It's like a Renaissance painting. Literally every single time. Oh man. Though episode 23 was good though. I love it. Episode 3 was great. Episode 23 was great. I mean, we did lose Tizano though, which was just like, but why though? We had it for 2 episodes. But I mean, yeah, it's just that the Nunchi is great, and I like how Ark's doing for it actually just bring out the best things in the characters. I always thought it's actually kind of one of the best things this show's ever done, is actually kind of always focused directly on characters rather than the actual kind of collective sometimes. Because it proves to you they actually can improve work independently and actually are improve very good on their own. It's just one of those things. Also, we're getting close to the boy as well. To the boy. This OP is so freaking good, though. Might I say, I kind of like... It's actually one of my favourite OPs in JoJo. Don't know where it stands on the whole, pardon the pun, don't know where it stands on the whole, scale of best OPs in JoJo, but it's probably up there somewhere. I love the name, though. It's Notorious Chase. It's just so great. I love that. It's like, yeah, I'm watching the movie, it's fine, I know what I'm doing. It carries the exact same amount of weight as him saying, where'd you learn to drive? GTA. Has the exact same emotional weight to it. Oh, here he comes! Here comes the boy! Here he comes. He's terrifying in the anime, actually. No, that's what you should in theory do. Even though he's dead, you should go and check up on him and see if he actually is dead, just in case. Because rule one of horror movies, you always go and check afterwards. I love how most of the characters are like, well, that just happened. And that's the end of it. And now we leave. Those visuals, though. Those visuals, though. Ooh. Ooh. I know, it's just like, boys, we're gonna do it this part. I'm like, yes. Do it, lads. It's so freaking good. I love it. Some of the things I actually love about this part so far is the way they actually handled the visuals. Because it just went, you know what? Let's just go above and beyond. Let's just do it, lads. I swear I saw this in the movie once before as well. This whole entire like plot line. I swear I saw it in a movie. Which is what sometimes Araki actually does. Which is very cool. Ew. I also keep forgetting how like kind of weird this actual arc actually is, because this arc is really weird. I swear it was from a horror movie. That's the problem. I swear I saw this in a horror movie once before somewhere. Someone's just playing jokes on them. It's like, ha! Got ya! I mean, true, most of the arcs in JoJo are massive movie references. Like, the Yukako arc from, like, part 4 is basically just misery, which is actually really freaking cool. So this is just getting bizarre by... Bizarre? Is that even a word? It's getting more bizarre by the minute. It's a better way to say it. Bizarre. It's even a word. Wait, did they actually change it in the, Did they? Did they just change... Did they just change the actual lettering as well? Am I losing my mind? This is, it's just such a terrifying kind of arc in a way. It's just kind of like, it's kind of ew the whole entire time. Ugh. I just don't like parasites that just grow into people's arms, okay? Ugh, no. I don't think so, Nanuntia. This ain't a good moment right now. I also think it actually is the Blood Fountain arc as well. It's also quite interesting because, technically speaking, they're on an aeroplane as well. It's actually quite enclosed. There really is no exits for them at this very one point, so it's actually quite a tense arc for that reason. I guess it actually kind of reminds me of Leviathans, if anyone's ever seen that movie. Like, the really, really old movie that was like the 80s, I believe. Honestly, actually, it's quite a weird arc. It's just, it's such a kind of creepy arc as well. That's the problem. But I swear Leviathan has Peter Weller in it from RoboCop. Also Batman at one point as well. Also a pretty good movie as well. Everyone kind of says it's terrible. It's actually quite a good movie. Oh my god! That was tense. That was very tense. Ooh. Ew. I guess his art kind of reflects a lot of the 80s and 90s kind of movies when his part really came out, because this is the kind of boom of that kind of genre of horror. The parasitic parasitic kind of genre of horror movies. It's also quite interesting that all of this happened when the stand user's not even there as well, because you always kind of know the idea that the stand user always kind of creates the most damage, but even when it's just autonomous as well, it's quite terrifying. they really are playing the actual kind of horror aesthetic of this arc as well really well, because it's very much a horror kind of orientated arc, kind of like the previous one a little bit, but it's on a bigger scale. So it plays into the idea of isolation, the idea of not being able to actually get out of anywhere. I know people kind of sleep on his arc, but his arc's actually really freaking good. Like, his arc is brilliant because of that reason. Like, it kind of nails the actual aesthetic of horror movies perfectly. It's happening, boys. It's happening. Yeah, it plays into that whole entire idea. It's like you've ever seen the movie The Thing, the original, well, not the original one's from the 1950s, but the remake by John Carpenter. That's the one I was trying to remember. John Carpenter's name. Have they changed the? I thought the second episode. I thought they changed the ED. I thought they changed the ED to reflect the actual episode. But yeah, you know, that whole entire idea, kind of being in sort of remote area, not being able to actually escape. The same thing applies with Alien. Same thing with Leviathan. The same thing with, there's loads of them actually. It plays into the known fear of isolation, not being able to actually escape, and actually kind of very much an aeroplane's kind of has that, because an aeroplane's kind of like you're in the sky, so you have literally only one way out, and the one way out can kill you as well. And if you try to land it, you have to try and land it. If you don't have the correct ability to do so, it can kill you as well. It's very well staged as an arc to actually kind of reflect that whole entire like state of being, the idea of isolation, and the actual kind of actually nailing the actual aesthetic of horror movies as well. Because the whole thing with Trish just now, it feels like that whole entire moment in the horror movie when they kind of like, oh crap, what do we do? And then they had to stop and then have to actually wait for the parasite to actually kind of move past and actually then be able to actually kind of think about it. It's very well done. Like, it's actually a very well done art for that one reason, that you have that kind of aesthetic in there. And also, I just really like that kind of. I like how when they nail the actual kind of aesthetics really well, because it's just so freaking cool. I have an innate fear of parasitic horror movies because they just terrify me. Spice Lady, Spice Lady. Oh my god, even better. Oh my god, Spice Lady. Oh, that's just brilliant. That's just made my day. Oh, Crunchyroll, you beautiful people. Oh god, I was just. Oh god, you had Notorious Chase as well. It was just one after another. Oh, the meme machine does not end at this point. Oh, I love it. I love it. But yeah, I mean, as I said beforehand, it was it's a brilliant arc because it just feels like it's a horror movie. It feels like it feels very much like a fish tank kind of horror movie. The idea of being inside one location, actually being kind of trapped there, it's actually quite well done. The idea of actually kind of having the characters almost basically be offed instantly as well. Like, it's just one of those things. It kind of then makes you wonder how they're gonna get out of this one if like all the characters are practically KO'd in a way. You've got Giorno with no arms, you've got Mista basically like a blood fountain at this point, you got Nanuncia who's also a blood fountain at this point, and also all those things as well. It's quite an interesting arc because it kind of reduces the characters down to zero. Like, in essence, the characters having Fury kind of had those moments where they've been reduced to zero. Don't get me wrong, I mean, King Crimson's arc kind of didn't really do that, actually, I should say. It reduces the characters down to zero, actually kind of makes them into nothing, basically. But its arc kind of reinforces that, the idea of like kind of feeling at a loss, the idea of actually not knowing what to do next because this autonomous stand is actually inside the airplane, actually can for attack at any point. You just don't know. And it's just that whole entire moment when Trish was just walking through the aeroplane, it's going doosh, doosh each time. It just feels like a 90s/80s kind of horror movie. It's just brilliant. It was just really well done. I can't fault the sound design in this episode because it was just brilliantly kind of captures that essence. It actually is kind of lacking somewhat in the most recent years because films having through tried to emulate the idea of isolation, but it just doesn't feel the same. Like it did back in the 90s, because I guess it kind of reflected back in that back then kind of the fears of advancement in some semblance of a way as well. Human advancement, I guess, in a way, and actually the idea of the future. Nowadays it's kind of like you just don't know. It's just one of those things. I kind of like that they just nailed the aesthetics so freaking damn well. It was just pretty freaking cool. And also, yeah, we actually have some more Trish moments as well, because Trish is a brilliant character, and this arc kind of proves that as well. It's one of those things that you just kind of get those moments, just like, yeah, these characters doing through work very well on their own in this kind of situation, just trying to figure out what to do next. It just kind of proves to you these characters can through work on their own, actually can through just be brilliant on their own. It's one of those things that just brilliantly captures that idea as well. Like, it's just one of those things that they're just very kind of singular arcs that really focus on one character and bring out why you like that character so much, and actually give you some more context on why this character is so brilliant. This arc also proves that, also proves that as well. And also, it actually doesn't kind of let up the mystery of what's going on with Bruno as well. I actually quite like that as well, because it kind of then brings back this whole idea of what's really going on with Bruno as well, because it's like, well, he's got a massive kind of thing taken out of his leg. He's actually not bleeding too much. What the hell's going on there, boys? I like how they brought that back. It was actually quite an interesting thing, because it kind of reinforces what's going on here, what's actually kind of happening. We just don't freaking know. It's actually kind of very interesting. Its arc's very cool. It's very terrifying, don't get me wrong, because it's kind of one of those things, it's just parasites just terrify me. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, it's also very interesting as an arc itself. It's a kind of a singular arc after what's happened so far, because it's kind of it's an autonomous stand that happens after the character dies, or stand user dies in this case. Actually, then it's caused the most damage to the actual characters without actually even being there, technically speaking, the stand user. It's actually quite interesting, because beforehand stand users always in for an attack and actually do a lot of damage, but in this context, not so much. In this context, it's just the stand is actually taking them all out without really doing too much of a kind of a sweat, really. It's actually quite interesting. You just don't get this very often. When you do get it, it's actually very kind of cool, because it just kind of reminds you that stand users are quite terrifying, especially in Part 5. Part 5 really proves that stand users are terrifying. They're not just any other character. They're just kind of like, they are a character within this world, and I actually do really like that. So yeah, that is me are done for today. It's actually what you have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole, then do indeed leave a sub on Twitch, because indeed there's something quite a bit. If you have enjoyed what I do here on YouTube and you do want to leave a like, then do leave a like, because indeed there's something quite a bit. If you have enjoyed what I do here on YouTube and you want to stay a bit longer, then do indeed leave a sub, because indeed there's something quite a bit. If you have enjoyed what I do here on YouTube and you want to stay a bit longer after the whole entire point, then do in theory leave a follow on Twitter, because indeed there's something quite a bit. On Twitter, will then know if streams go live, and streams I do as well. I shouldn't have a Twitter account, but doing for a Discord, I want to have a Discord server. Actually, it's in free streams go live, and streams I do as well. But tonight's episode 25 of JoJo Part 5. I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.